Yeah, no, don't have a whole lot after. Yeah, I guess we do have a few.
Okay, Council, we're ready. I'd like to bring this meeting of May 17th to order. Would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Councillor Moore?
Here.
Councillor Robichaud?
Here.
Councillor Larochelle?
Here.
Councillor Lunt?
Is not here at the moment.
Okay.
We do expect him.
Okay. Councillor Fellows?
Here.
Councillor Smith?
Here.
All right. Order 2022-118 to go into executive session per 1 MRSA Section 4056A, Personnel Matters.
Entertain a motion.
A motion. Second.
All those in favor?
All right.
Okay. Moving to the next room, I was told.
Kind determined to get me on that one. We got to stick with it.
Fern, do you want me to, as far as the top school budget, you want me to just letter that I drafted? No, if you, so I just read it off and then we get ready to school. Feel is appropriate. How's that?
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to come out of executive session.
I second it.
All those in favor? Thank you.
All right.
Getting back into session. What is, whenever you're ready with the first subject.
First item is good news and recognition.
Any council have any good news or recognition?
It's all good news.
All good news, right? Anybody from the audience have anything they want to share for good news and recognition?
I'd like to recognize Parks and Recreation Department for doing a great job getting the sprinklers all set up down at the Rumbo site and getting that all watered. That was awesome to see. I know a lot of work was put into that, so thank you to you and your staff.
So we can hear the grass growing.
Yeah, it's going to happen.
Nice.
It's good clean water.
Good
you're
work.
pumping out too, so it's nice. With not seeing anything more, we'll move forward to the next item, please.
All right. First item is public hearings. Once the chair opens the public hearing, those present who wish to speak, please approach the lectern to address the council chair. Please use the microphone and state your name for the record. First public hearing, mass gathering permit for the Maine Blues Festival.
I'll open up that public hearing. Is there anybody here to speak for, against, or have any comments for that subject? Seeing none, I'll close our public hearing.
The next public hearing is a special entertainment permit for Flux Restaurant.
I'll open that public hearing. Anybody for the Flux Restaurant speak? Seeing no movement, we'll close our public hearing.
All right. Next item is audience participation and response for agenda items. At this time, those in the audience who wish to speak may approach the lectern to address items or issues that are on the agenda. Please use the microphone and state your name for the record.
Anybody have anything for tonight's agenda?
Oh, this is easy.
I say this is moving along this nicely. Seeing none, we'll move to the next.
All right. Next item is the consent agenda. Consent agenda items are considered routine and will be considered for adoption by one motion with no separate discussion unless a councilor requests an item be removed. Any councilor wishing to remove an item may do so now.
May I actually, there's, prior to going in this, can we actually, there's one subject that actually one of the councilors may actually have to not vote on. Should we break that away, or should we not just vote on a complete consent agenda, or would you like to break that away into a separate vote?
Yeah, just pull that one out.
If it's we can vote on that one separately.
Okay, if we can do that, that would be great. Thank you.
Okay. So order 2022-119 will be to approve first the municipal accounts payable warrants. There are none. Municipal payroll warrants, $246,496.15. School accounts payable warrants, $91,508.05. School payroll warrants, $780,788.89. And mass gathering permit for Maine Blues Festival, the renewal for a mass gathering permit for Parks and Recreation for the Moxie Festival, and special entertainment permit for Flex Restaurant, and the renewal of victualers licenses.
I entertain a motion for those items.
Make that motion?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Thank you. Order passes 6-0. So we will make item, item G, we will have become order 2022-119A. And that is to set a public hearing for June 7th for a medical marijuana registered caregiver retail store for Lisbon Cannabis and for an adult use marijuana retail store for River Driver Cannabis.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Order passes.
And you have an abstention.
Right. Order passes 5-0 with one abstention.
Thank you. Next item, whenever you're ready.
Next item,
I'm going to go first with the Order 121.
Yes.
the next item is Order 2022-121, the Finance Committee recommendation on the school and municipal budgets.
So last night at the Finance Committee meeting, happened last night, May 16th, the Finance Committee met to discuss the fiscal year 2023 proposed budget and updates from this past budget season. There was great discussion during the meeting. Hopefully everyone had the opportunity to watch the meeting last night. During this past budget season, as department heads met with town council during budget workshops, there were updates made to several department budgets during the budgeting process. The changes were presented to the Finance Committee last night with the following recommendation to town council tonight. The Finance Committee made the following recommendations: to recommend the adoption of the total fiscal year 23 sewer, to recommend the adoption of the total fiscal year 23 sewer revenues, to recommend the adoption of the school budget, to recommend the adoption of the municipal budget, to recommend the adoption of the county budget, and also to recommend the adoption of the municipal budget revenues. So they recommended to adopt all that was presented last night.
And that's actually just presenting to us. We don't actually have to make an official vote on that? Or
Correct. They just have to be made aware of the Finance Committee's
It's all
decision.
set? Thank you for the report.
You're welcome.
Next item, please.
Okay. The next item is Order 2022-120.
Let's go back to the school. 120,
That's-
ready to go next.
Right.
Okay, sorry.
120, to adopt the school budget and the school capital improvement plan, the CIP.
Want someone make a motion for discussion?
I'll make that motion.
In a second.
I'll second.
All right. Is there anything the school wants to present or add to it, or is everything as good as presented previously? Perfect. Is there any questions from council at all as far as this budget?
No.
Great job.
Councilor Moore looks like he's moving forward to the mic, so.
Yeah. No.
You're all good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Perfect. With that being said, I think that's been pretty well discussed, and the information's out there, and the Finance Committee has given its approval. So all those in favor of approving?
You don't have to roll.
Yeah, don't have to roll.
Roll call?
That's what I was just
Yep.
thinking. Thank you, Don.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry about that, guys. Okay, so a roll call vote,
That was just a warm-up, Don.
Yeah.
just a warm-up.
Sure,
All right.
making sure we actually have the votes moving forward, so we're all good.
Right. So roll call vote. Counselor Fellows,
Yes.
Counselor Moore,
Aye.
Counselor Smith,
Yes.
Counselor LaRochelle,
Yes.
Counselor Lunt,
Yes.
Counselor Robichaud.
Yes.
Okay, so we have 6 yeas, 0 nays. Order passes 6-0.
It's official. Good job.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to mention during this whole budget season, everyone did a fantastic job getting this budget all put together. And my first time experience with everybody, it was a good one. I thank everyone for the, accurate information and great answers when I had questions. I had a few, but not many, but just want to thank everybody, right? I know a lot of hard work went in it, and, we ended up with a good budget. So
Good
I
place
think the
for things.
town's going to be happy with the end result, so really appreciate it.
All right. Moving on. Order 2022-122, Sewer Department RAS pumps bid increase.
something didn't go down in price?
No, sir. Everything's going up for us, unfortunately. Good evening. I'm Steve Abiola at the Sewer Department. As you're aware, we received a letter from Trillium Pumps, which was a winning bidder for our RAS pumps purchase. We had an approved amount to not exceed of $48,200, which the original purchase amount was $46,650, with a 7% price increase. That's adding $3,265.50 to cost, bringing it to a total of $49,915.50. Just looking at approval for what is essentially a $1,700 exceedance of the approved amount. We had plenty in the budget to cover this cost. They came in well in their budget for this purchase.
Yeah, I'd entertain a motion for discussion.
I'll make that motion.
Second it.
And that was my question. I mean, you still have plenty of money left in your budget for the increase.
Yes, sir. Yeah, the original bid came in about a little over 25, almost 30, no, about $25,000 less than we budgeted.
And this, I mean, it still is a ways out, even though you're just ordering now, right? Do they foresee any other increases at all? Is this pretty much a locked in if this happens, or nothing's locked?
Nothing is locked in. They made it aware in the beginning. And we actually placed this order that, the approval was on February 1st. That same week, we submitted the order to them. And at that time, it was 5 to 7 months before we would see the pumps.
Yep.
So we still have, essentially could be 2 to 4 more months.
Is it due diligence to actually give a range of acceptance for the town, I mean, from the council, or should we actually just lock it in this amount? I mean, do you actually have feelings that there is going to be some other costs added on in between now and getting the pump, or, I mean, what's your feelings? I mean,
My feelings on what we're seeing lately is there very well could be another increase. If it stretches out into August, September before we see them,
yeah.
with the way everything is going right now with freight, there very well could be another increase.
So we can, there's no way to actually guarantee that at this point in time. So, I mean, I guess I would actually take a lead from the council. Is it easier just to wait till we actually get to an increased figure, or?
Yeah.
Or
I think we should wait, right? Because I think you're right. There's an increase coming. But we don't know what that is. So I definitely think we should wait.
With that, if I make a recommendation myself, with being this close to year end, I'm sure if we can lock in an amount and be able to carry forward the rest, I think Finance Department would agree with that. And then reevaluate if we see another increase.
Yep. All right. Just wanted to make sure.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
So at what point, I mean, prices increases can get ridiculous. If we decided at some point, we never will probably, but that we're not going to do this order, what is our penalty?
That I would have to look into. I think we could easily back out of it because these are typically off-the-shelf pumps. It's just they're having a hard time keeping them in stock and getting them. But we have to keep in mind also, we put out the proposal to 3 vendors and we only received this one bid.
Okay.
So going forward, there may not be another option. We may not get another person to bid on it.
Yeah, it's not a want, it's a need. So
Yes,
yeah,
it
we
is.
actually just.
Well, I know.
Yeah. So yeah. All right. With any other questions, council, before we vote? We appreciate you bringing the information forward.
Thank
So
you.
all those in favor?
Hey, thank you.
Thank you.
Order passed, 6-0.
Next item, please.
Order 2022-123, the grant for the school resource officer, the SRO.
It's only fair that I go to the podium.
Let's make sure you state your name.
Yeah.
If all possible.
Put on my chief of police hat. Ryan McGee, for anybody sitting in the audience doesn't know me. Here tonight, requesting permission to apply for a COPS grant, a school resource officer grant. With the cut of one SRO a few years ago, the resources in the schools have been limited by having one school resource officer. Lisbon used to have 3 schools with 2 SROs. We lost one school resource officer and added another school over that time. Lisbon now has 4 schools, and with 4 schools, there's obviously going to be more kids and more time for things to occur and things to happen. The COPS School Resource Officer Grant Program provides 75% of the approved salaries of the newly hired school resource officer over a 3-year period, and it's a 36-month period, and it's capped off at $125,000 over 3 years total. There's a 25% local cash match each year, and also a 12-month retention program for this position funded after 36 months for a 4-year total commitment. The grant requires that the officer deployed into the SRO position spend a minimum of 75% of their time in and around primary and or secondary schools working on youth-related activities. The goal would be to have one SRO share the Lisbon Community School and the Gartley Street School, and the new SRO share the Lisbon High School and the Sauk Middle School. The SRO would also be involved with community policing programs, and on certain days would run afternoon community policing programs. The cost to implement the second SRO would be between $59,113.60 up to an 8-year step at $66,060.80, and that's not including benefits. Taking into account the SRO grant program will pay up to $41,667 per year. Over the cost, over the first 3 years, so only $125,000 over that 3-year period. This position would be under the police department, as this will also be a community policing officer position that will be in the schools, and on certain afternoons, they will be involved in community policing programs outside of school as well. I also like to put something else together and basically why we should have police in our schools. Simply put, feeling safe in school is connected to achieving educational outcomes for our students. If students and educators are to achieve their full potential, schools must feel safe, and they must be safe. Students who report feeling safe in school are more engaged in class, have higher academic achievement, and have lower rates of absenteeism, truancy, and behavioral issues. Educators also benefit from safe schools. Those educators who report feeling safe in school are better able to focus on academics, are more likely to remain in their positions, and are better equipped to teach and support students. SROs can fulfill a variety of roles, preventing and responding to school-based crime, fostering positive relationships among educators, parents, and youth, and helping to promote a positive school climate. As an educator, SROs can serve as guest lecturers in the classroom, teaching students about programs like DARE, laws, constitutional rights, substance abuse, conflict resolution, restorative justice, and youth-relevant crimes. Spending time in the classroom also serves to build positive relationships between law enforcement and our youth in the community. SROs can lead in-service training for school personnel, educate staff about crime and justice issues, and provide training on crime prevention. SROs can provide training and present information at community meetings on relevant crime and legal issues, like social media safe practices or even recognizing signs of substance abuse. Protecting students and staff from threats of violence is a primary component of an SRO's role. Having sworn law enforcement available at the school diminishes critical response time with a violent incident or other emergency occurs. Likewise, an SRO's familiarity with school's layout and design, as well as knowledge of the individuals involved in a problem, can further improve the efficiency response to an incident, as well as de-escalating the situation. For all the aforementioned reasons, having better SRO coverage in our schools would greatly increase SRO presence, improve programming, and enhance relationships all around. One SRO covering a school district our size and population just isn't conducive to maximizing our potential here in Lisbon. When not in school, since the position is twofold, the SRO will be out in the community focusing on programs designed to foster, educate, and strengthen our community policing relations. I'm respectfully requesting to apply for and receive this grant funding with the understanding that this grant funding would not be during this fiscal year 23 budget. This wouldn't start until fiscal year 24, which would be a year out, but the application process would be starting now. So a vote tonight would allow me to essentially apply for and accept the grant funds, but again, it wouldn't be till the following budget season.
I'll make the motion for discussion.
Second?
I'll second that.
Okay. Yes, sir?
I just have we've done this before,
Yep.
I believe, sometime in the distant past. And the SRO works 75% of the time in the school or affiliated with the school. Is that the same as in the summertime, augmenting the police force,
Yes.
regular police force?
They'd be year-round. They'd work for the police department, but they'd be in the schools while school's in session.
Okay, so, yeah.
So the way that I'm looking at this is, and what I've seen and what some other communities have done, actually in different states, is they've actually taken on certain days, and it's never the same day, but they would actually adjust the schedule. So instead of being there at a certain time in the morning, they'll have community activities. And we're fortunate where we have the recreation department in town where we want to do more programs with the community. We'd be able to make the school resource, this second school resource officer position, to be able to work in conjunction with different programs that the school has and different programs that the recreation department has into the afternoon or even into the evening hours. And we can incorporate that right into their schedule, especially having two SROs. There's days where, the schools have professional development days. That could be a day where, we adjust it into the evening that night, or the schools have a half day. There's all different ways that we can end up working it out, but I guess I'm looking to be creative with this position. I definitely feel that it's a needed position, especially with us being a department with one of the very few left in the state that actually does the DARE program. Talking to our kids and teaching our kids about, educating our kids about drugs is very important. And, we utilize the newer model of the DARE program as well. And, I think that we do a good job with that. But, I understand, a few years back that, the school department, they had difficult decisions that they had to make. And, and I understand the reasonings why those decisions were made back then, and we all respect those. And we're at a situation now where there is grant funding available to the tune of a total of $125,000. It'd be a commitment for 3 years, and on the fourth year it'd be solely on the town. But I also think that's good budgeting. It's allowing us to actually foresee and budget for the future. We're easing into it, and then we're forecasting for the future. So,
Yes, sir. Any other questions, council?
My question is, has the school, maybe the superintendent could answer, was the school involved in discussions with the new SRO or proposed SRO?
I did reach out to the superintendent, and he definitely supports the school resource officer position. But this is this position I'd like to have under the full umbrella of the police department and not split between the school department. I know that there was past agreements in the past that was made where the school department would they pay a portion of this, reimburse essentially. It's in my budget, but it's reimbursed into my budget. But for this, I'd actually like it in my budget. So transparency is huge with me, and it's a lot easier to look at the police department budget with all my personnel right across the board, and you can see, okay, there's all my officers. This is what we're paying for. We know they were a school resource officer, but there's not a time where a week goes by where we don't grab that officer and utilize him for a motor vehicle accident.
Is this going to affect the current SRO, or is that percentage from the school budget paying?
No, that wouldn't. That's completely separate, and that would not affect that at all. We would not touch that. There would still be the share with that other SRO position. This would be completely on the new position moving forward.
Questions? So it's a 3-year grant.
Correct.
Now you said on the fourth year it'd be solely on the town.
Correct.
So there's no ability to actually extend that grant. This is strictly a 3-year windows. And then once you do your 3 years, then you have to wait a number of years prior to doing another grant if that was a
correct
scenario.
And, it was probably back in, I'd have to look, it'd be somewhere in the area of 2007 to 2009 where we were at 16 officers. This is going to bring us back to where we were back in 2007 or 2009 with substantially more calls for service now than we had back then. I believe that it's utilizing the resources better, and I also think that it's providing more opportunity to the youth in our town to have more interaction with police officers, and also provide actually more community policing trainings to the community.
Now with that grant, does the individual have to be one individual that's actually earmarked for that, or can
Yes.
that actually be someone that switches roles at all? Or?
No, they would not be allowed to switch roles, and now the state actually has a training that they have to go through to become a certified school resource officer. So that would be their primary role as a school resource officer. The my position here at the police department would be that we would hire the school resource officer from within, That's why there's a range from entry up to 8 years. I'd like to hire somebody within our department, and also even going through the grant explains that you do want somebody on with a couple of years experience and not absolutely brand new, because they need to have de-escalation skills. And then we would be hiring the 16th position, which essentially would be to fill the patrol position, because that patrol position went into to the SRO position. Or potentially you could have a CID person that decides they wanted to switch and become an SRO.
I would assume that the objective is to use this for 3 years and figure out how you get the fourth paid for after that, and not to terminate the program after 4 years.
The goal is that the council sets the grant aside, and we're making a decision here to better the community. That's what we're looking for a vote on tonight. I don't want you to look at it as a vote for, let's vote for this grant. This is an opportunity to offset the wages for that grant, but this is a lifelong commitment to our community and the people who live in our community. This isn't something where we should be looking at it as how we find the funding at year 4. I would say slash the program and don't do it right now if there's any inclination in your stomach where you can't handle thinking that we need this. I would rather say, if you feel in your heart that you need this, that we need this position, we vote for this position and we see it through and we make sure that it succeeds, and we don't end up in a position 4 years from now. I'm looking to essentially, I've been chief of police for 2 years, and we have a great team of men and women that do really good things. And we're just looking to continue to grow here, but not only grow, but provide more service to the community. I mean, with everything that's gone on in the country, across the country, with the issues that we've seen in different police departments, it's very important to me and my officers that we're providing the best that we can to the community. And I do see a need, and that's why we're stepping up to the plate, not just me, but as the police department, to see about bringing this back into our schools.
Mr. Chair, I personally don't think, I mean, I wish we hadn't had to have it go away the first time. So
I haven't met anybody that said anything differently yet, actually.
So
And I don't think the idea of it going away was not because of the need, it was strictly just financial situation we were in at the time.
It's pretty dire at the time.
And the world has not changed to less need one at any point. And as we look and read the news and watch the news, it's actually, our small communities are having some of the same issues as the world. So we have a motion and a second. I think anybody that's not ready to vote.
If I could,
Yes, sir.
how will this affect our fleet? Are we going to need another cruiser?
I was going to ask that.
Well, long term, my goal would be to take one of the cruisers. Right now will be good. I'm looking at like the next 2.5, 3 years will be good. But when we get a cruiser up to about the 70,000 mile mark, I'd take that cruiser, instead of trading it in, I'd leave it as be, make that the SRO car, because the SROs don't put a ton of mileage on the cars. So right now, unfortunately for the SRO, they get the vehicle with the highest mileage because they don't put a lot of miles on that car. But I would be looking down the road to actually be keeping one of the old cruisers instead of trading it in, keep it upfitted. We're in a good position where I have radios for every single cruiser. I ordered them last fall. We're still waiting for them to come in because backlogs are waiting for chips, I guess, for them. We're in a good place as far as equipment, and we actually have extra equipment as well. Some of it's older equipment, but we're in a position where we could upfit a cruiser or keep a cruiser upfitted where it wouldn't cost the extra money that it would down the road. So yes, to the point, down the road I would be looking, and I'll tell you the reason why I'd be looking to keep one of the old cruisers. Because if I veered away from our cruiser replacement plan of one cruiser 1 year, 2 cruisers the next year, and I just kept it with having the SRO, that's still added mileage that year, and it does bump the numbers of your replacement plan, 1 cruiser 1 year, 2 cruisers the next. So the way I was looking at it was the best way to go about it is to keep a cruiser instead of trading it in. When it hits that 70 or 75,000 mile mark, there's actually a way to adjust the cruiser on a 2 cruiser year.
Our current staffing level in the police department are we at 2 officers per shift now, 24/7?
We're not. We will be once we hire our 15th position that's currently open, which we've had a lot of interest in just recently. We have an officer graduating Friday. Jacob Stroud's graduating from the Maine Criminal Justice Academy. We're really excited about that because it's been a year and a half since we hired him, and he's finally able to graduate the academy. We have Brady Cusson, who is another officer. He's slated to go to the academy in August. He'll retire. He'll graduate in December. So essentially, he can't work by himself. We don't have him work by himself until they graduate the academy. They can work in a cruiser, but can't be working the road by themselves. Have someone else on. But once we hit this 15th position and we fill that, that'll be 2 patrol a shift. Yes.
And with if the grant is successful and we get a new SRO, aren't we gonna go back to a deficit until we get another person in and get them trained to get back to 2 per shift, 24/7?
Well, there's 2 ways to look at it. One, tonight it's voted in and the grant's approved, and then we find out late fall, early winter that we got the grant. We start budgeting for it with the budget process. They went budget for the excess that we'll need starting July 1st of next year. But that gives us time before then to go out to add and start the process. You know, we're in a position where we just had the council just had a market study completed. And I've had more people reach out to me that are police officers at other departments right now than people that have never been in law enforcement before. Because literally you're paying the employees what the market value is what they should be making. So I guess I don't know the answer to that. That is a possibility. So, and we could be in that situation where we don't fill it come July of next year. And actually it wouldn't be till into August when they go back to school. But that is a real possibility. And, you know, that's something where I might have to extend it and it doesn't start in August or September. And we have to wait and we don't fill it until the January, the SRO position. Because I don't want to get to a position where I'm short on patrol officers. You know, we've done a pretty good job getting up to this point. There was a spot where we did get really slim. We had an officer deployed. We were short several officers. You know, positions. We had an officer injured. We had an officer that was really sick with COVID. And we got to a point where there was 9 of us. And I pulled a CID out of, you know, from CID and adjusted their schedule to another shift. There's definitely, we don't want to get to that point. So trying to plan for the future, I guess.
Okay.
And I will say,
questions?
just to add that, you know, I had been thinking about this obviously a few years back. I brought this forward and we stepped back from it at that time because it was a little bit different of a grant at the time. And then this year, I do know, being in a unique role, being the interim town manager and the chief of police, that there were 5 new positions in the town of Lisbon that were being proposed this year by, you know, 5 departments, essentially. And with that, it wasn't the right time for me to come forward in front of the council and say, hey, I want to add my SRO position through the budget, because a friend of mine had explained that he was pretty sure that the SRO grant would come out again later this year in June. So I decided to hold off because I also knew that the market study was coming forward and that was going to be an increase to the town. So I definitely weigh all of that. You know, I have family that live in this town, and I've said it a number of times, but I think now is the right time because it allows us to budget adequately moving forward into the future, and it does offset the cost by $41,670 a year. So.
Any other councils? Concerns or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Order pass 6-0.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next item, whenever you're ready.
All right, the next item is Order 2022-124, the Moxie Day road closures. I believe you have those road closures in your packet. Can,
Do we actually have someone that's going to speak on those? I'm not sure if Mark was up for.
I think that
I just didn't know if anybody had any questions.
the interim town manager had some notes, but you
Mark,
can
if you
probably
want to
cover
step
them.
forward, and I'm sure you know him as well as he does. So,
My name is Mark Stevens. I'm Parks and Recreation Director. everybody's leaving.
It's not you.
The proposal is pretty much mirror image from past years, with the exception of the parade route is going to go straight to from Capitol Avenue to Crafts, and the other modification that we had was the festival will be around School Street, Addison Street, and Berry Avenue, Campus Avenue. So those four, the festival will be pretty much in that one block instead of being down on Main Street. So we proposed the road closures to, work so that we don't have traffic going in those areas. There'll be a lot of foot traffic. So we have one lane on Berry Avenue open so people can get in and out. And Campus Avenue will be closed all day long. And Addison will have one lane. School Street will be closed all day.
Entertain a motion for discussion?
Make that motion.
Second it.
Question, so right now the detour signs all say to go
School Street.
north, you got to go up on School Street. So would they actually be changing all the detour signs?
Either that or
Okay.
bagging the detour signs, talking about the ones on the sides of the road and whatnot. And
Yeah, just at that point in time, what would be the detour to actually go up Main Street? Would that be go up Union? Or, I'm just thinking we'd have to figure out the logistics of where people would, if people are coming up 196 and they were planning going up 125, where they would actually, where the detour would actually,
I'd send them up. I'd send them up Pleasant Street, before you hit that intersection. Well, yeah, Summer Street. If you're coming, I'm saying if you're coming from the west, if you're coming from the west, then you'd go up Pleasant Street or Plummer, and then just cut across over to Main Street, because you can only go south on Main Street.
correct, yeah?
So
So I just want to make sure that we actually have that well played out, just so people come into town that they don't,
right.
I know all the, even when you come 196 from Thompson, out in Thompson, you actually even have that early warning of where you need to turn to go up 125. So it may be just a reprogramming of some signs saying that, to go, north on Main Street or 125, you need to turn on Summer, versus the idea of getting them in town. Hopefully our town's pretty clustered that day with lots of people coming in, and so, with people parking all over the place down on that area, right? We just want to make sure that we actually have appropriate routes for trucks to come through and be able to turn and get up where they need to go.
I don't want tractor trailers going up Pleasant Street.
No, and I apologize because I came in and I had to direct the superintendent, so I missed a portion of that conversation, so I do apologize. There's something else that we're working with is possible closure of a bridge between Summer Street and Gould Road, and I don't know exactly when that is going to be, during July.
Yeah.
So there's that as well. So that I'll work with Mark, but there's a way that we can essentially have them go up Route 9. Local traffic will know how to get around, but for traffic, like you said, coming from Thompson, we'll direct them up Route 9 and down Gould Road, to get back to
Gotcha.
125.
Yeah, as long as we have a plan that people can actually be well mapped out, that's all. I know there's a lot of signs right now, detour
There's
signs.
a lot of signs.
There's
a lot of signs in town.
Because I would assume downtown will actually be pretty loaded up. Where do you see the bulk of people actually parking, Mark, that it would be facilitating the School Street?
For Rumbo.
The Rumbo, and we have plans on busting them up and stuff, and
We do. We have a shuttle map that's already been sent out,
nice.
and we tried to make it so it was as easy, as simple as possible. We couldn't make it complicated because for the drivers, we had them going up Avery Street and getting over to Crafts and and they said that can't happen. So we just tried to make it as simple as we could for them.
Yep. I'm all good with closing roads down as long as there's a good plan. I mean, unfortunately, 2 years ago, we've had Main Street closed, and then now that we are beyond that, now we have it closed again because of the construction. So it definitely hasn't been easy in that area for anybody, especially the businesses. So.
Right. Yep.
Are there any plans to use Public Works dump trucks to block off the parade
Well, I
to
have,
prevent people from driving into the parade and running over people and killing them?
Oh, we don't want to talk about.
I don't know if we've ever.
Yeah, we haven't used Public Works, but we did increase the amount of officers on the parade route and increased volunteers on the outside to direct traffic and put cruisers at checkpoints throughout actually the parade route. But that's something we could also talk to Public Works.
As a physical barrier
Yeah.
to stop.
I think that's a great idea. In 2019, we didn't have any people, busting through barriers, but we just put out the sawhorses, and people were moving them,
Right.
just getting out, moving them, and it would cause a huge problem for us on School Street last year, in 2019. So my recommendation was to, they'll still probably be able to move them, but chain them together or tie them together, so we'll have 2 or 3 in a row. It'll make it a lot harder for one person just to get out of their car and do a quick move, just to get around the barriers. And we're also going to have volunteers that we reached out to some volunteers from Maine, Lewiston Chamber of Commerce that said they'd help out during the day for traffic control. I think you had talked to them.
Yep.
So we're going to use all the volunteers we can to help, keep our roads safe. We're going to have a lot of foot traffic in that block.
And I can speak to, that's a good idea. I can speak to Public Works too, but dump
You know
truck.
what I'm talking
I know
about, right?
exactly
You know
what
what I
you're
mean.
talking
In NIMS training, they actually mentioned
just
that's
a
been
runaway-
used in a
runaway
lot of
car,
communities, yep.
you know.
Any other questions from council?
Nope.
Seeing none, all those in favor?
All right. Thank you very much.
Order passed, 6-0.
Next item, please, whenever you're ready.
Other business, council committee reports.
School committee, we actually just heard the ending of the budget, well, not the ending of the budget, but at least the finalization of the budget, which is really impressive, and I think we'll get some good things coming, so. Planning board.
At the last meeting last Thursday, they extended the solar farm agreement for the one on Upland Road another year. There was considerable discussion about the emergency sign ordinance and what they're going to do going forward with it. There will be a letter, or has been a letter sent up, I think by Mark, to council requesting planning help as per the previous discussion. And there was also a minor revision that's also been sent up as a ordinance change request to the council on ROS2, which would permit some changes in so that they can build off the road. ROS2 has a strange lot size, and that would change that. It's a minor revision.
Yeah. All right, now start with planning board. Lisbon Development Committee, not much there at this point in time. The Conservation Committee.
There was supposed to be a meeting today at 6 o'clock. And there was going to be a tour of a number of the parks in a bus.
I know you weren't there tonight.
And I wasn't there, so I don't know what happened. But, and also the bamboo that was burned to the ground 2 weeks ago is
Yes.
now 4 feet tall.
Yes,
It's healthy now, though.
I saw that.
And if Mark wants to expand on any of my knowledge on that, then he feel free.
Oh.
Did you have the meeting today? You didn't?
You go, Councilor Moore. You're
next
there.
Tuesday. Yep.
All right, the Parks and Recreation Committee. No one there. It's all good. Cliff was do it. We'll have to add to that later on. County budget.
Nothing at the moment.
Lisbon Library Governing Board.
The summer reading program is going to start soon, so get your kids enrolled in that. Have them have some fun this summer and read some books.
Nice.
Check out the construction.
Right, yes, but
do
it's
other-
still open. The library is open through the construction. The children's room, you go right in the back. You don't even have to get onto Main Street at all.
Water Commission.
Yeah, they are currently down one staff water technician who had about a year tenure with them. So they're struggling to do what needs to be done. Basically, they're trying to work on the corrosion control issue, and it's having to take a back seat to the issues that are happening on Route on
125.
Main Street on 125. Yesterday, when I went to the meeting, they had a small leak that somebody hit, and they patched it and fixed it. Now I hear
It's a big leak.
a main Main,
The
so
main 12-inch pipe.
yeah, so
Hit today.
they're occupied and very busy, and as far as the corrosion control, which I get asked about a lot, it's taking a backseat to all that right now. Just a matter of putting it all together.
Was that on Main Street?
Yeah, and they're going to continue to run into these issues because they're not going to.
He do it?
Yeah.
They're going to run into
So they're
these
going to pay
issues.
for it, fixing it?
Well, they're replacing it all anyways. But this is the main 12-inch. This isn't your typical inch-and-a-half line. This is your main 12-inch line for Lisbon Falls. It shut Lisbon Falls down today.
From what I hear, the sewer line and the water line are in places a lot closer than they thought they were, and so that's causing lots of fun.
Will be all new soon.
But just to add to that real quick, the communication's been very good, though.
Yeah.
From the water department, their sewer department, and McGee Construction. So that's good. I mean, yes, things have happened and lines are broke, but they're quick to make sure everybody's notified. So that's a good thing.
Nice. And then Finance Committee?
Yep, yep, we met last night, it was a good meeting, they approved everything, as we talked earlier, so it's all good.
Nice. All right. Next item, please.
Town Manager's report.
I was just going to bring up that Dawn already brought up a couple of issues that we've had on Main Street, which obviously gives some of the Main Street businesses some displeasure, but the water department's worked pretty quick to try to get things rectified and fixed, which is good. But that has definitely created some obstacles for that project because things aren't where they're supposed to be. So.
Which we knew going into it
Yes.
that it wasn't all going to be easy, right?
Yeah.
And next item, please.
Next item, department heads' written reports.
Everybody look at them, read them, and have any questions about them at all?
Good.
We do appreciate the department head reports, and it does keep us up a little bit, and hopefully the community, do we share those at all beyond the idea of us reading them? Do they get put off onto our webpage at all, or?
They get put on the council agenda.
Yeah. I wonder if it'd be interesting underneath on the department head's webpage to actually update them. I mean, Mark, do you think that's worthwhile, just allowing the community to know what you're up to? I mean, we get it, but I'm not sure if anybody else does.
Well, what I do is I collect all 12 of them and I make it an annual report. That's how I create my annual report because it's good note taking throughout the year. A new annual report online.
Just, I mean, we always talk about making our webpage more active and current.
Yeah.
So, I mean, anything we can do to try to feed as much
That's something we can
information.
certainly look into. Yeah.
Just a thought, but. All right, next item.
Next item is appointments. There are none. Next item is councilor communications.
Mr. Chair, I just have a question.
Sure.
We have the remote meeting policy that came back to us. Do we have plans to put it on the agenda or what? I don't remember what our wishes were.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's been a lot of homework that we've taken home, so I actually probably haven't read through it as much as probably everybody else has. So I think once we get through this next week, we definitely plan on bringing that onto the agenda. So
The difference, of course, is that if we put it on the agenda, then we still have to have a schedule a hearing.
hearings and
So,
everything. Yep.
yeah.
Yep. I will probably leave it off to the interim town manager to when he feels the agenda is actually
And
ready for it.
And the other point was, I mentioned before, but there's a letter coming up from the planning board
Yep.
through the channels to get on the agenda for us.
Sounds good. Any other council communications at all? Seeing none. Next item, please.
Audience participation and response for new items. At this time, those in the audience who wish to speak may approach the lectern to address items or issues not on the agenda.
One at a time, please. I mean, don't rush. Be courteous. Seeing no movement, we'll move on to the next item, please.
Next item, executive session, Order 2022-125, to go into executive session per 1 MRSA Section 4056 Personnel Matters.
Entertain a motion?
Make that motion.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Order passed, 6-0.
Remaining here, I would think.
Yeah, we can remain in here.
Okay.
That'd be actually
Taking
perfect.
five, 3.
Thank you.
Let's grab my laptop.
Bye, Mark.
Bye, Gary. I'll see you later.
Are you hanging in there?
Yeah.
I think they postponed that just for you, Harry, so. So, yeah, you could actually hear what's going on. Probably live streaming from we know. There we go. Okay, we're back on. So I entertain a motion to come back out of executive session.
Microphone. Microphones. Thank you.
So I entertain a motion to come out of executive session.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
6-0.
We have a couple motions to be read, if you could, sir.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to fill Councilor Miller's position with an intern until the end of this calendar year, to the November vote. Christine Kane, she's applied, and I'm recommending that we accept her interest in that position.
I'll second that nomination.
All those in favor?
Order passed, 6-0.
Okay. And next one?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to move that the amendments to the following sections of the Town of Lisbon Personnel Policy be approved in the form presented to this meeting. That is Section 90-2, Parent B, Parent 1, Benefit Entitlement, Section 90-7, Compensation and the Attachment A Pay Plan, Section 90-8.5, Educational Incentive, new section, Section 90-10, Employees exempt from Fair Labor Standards Act, Section 90-21F, sick leave, new subsection, Section 90-32.5, longevity stipend.
Entertain a second for that?
Second it.
All those in favor? I assume that can be just a regular vote.
That is 6-0. Order passes.
All right then. So is there any other business, or next motion to adjourn?
Order 2022-126 to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Long night, guys. I appreciate all your hard work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Steve?
Thank
Thank
you.
you for your long night. Any other papers to sign, or are we in good shape?
Seriously.
Right here.
Yep.
Sorry about that.
Oh, you need.
Don wanted to keep it. I wouldn't let him.
Yeah, and anything else that you guys had this evening from,
Right here.
will you reach out?